So before we get to a repertoire recommendation section, we're going to take a look at some of the main strategic ideas and themes running through the Blumenfeld Gambit. And the main idea from Black's perspective, of course, is that he's trying to destroy White's centre. So that is the first idea we're going to discuss. And if we get to the initial position, we can see that Black is already putting pressure on the c4 and d5 points. So White's got to find a way of resolving this tension straight away, or his entire centre can be destroyed. So, like Tarrasch before him, in our featured game from the Gibraltar Masters in 2010 between Malakatko and Vallejo Ponce, White decides to accept the Gambit pawn. These are two strong grandmasters. So Malakatko has clearly got something in mind. Vallejo plays d5, and now White plays one of the most critical lines of all in the Blumenfeld Gambit. He plays his knight out to c3, and Black's got to be very careful against this line. Knight bd7, and now White goes through with the main idea of this line, a quick e4. And if Black isn't prepared for this line, he can get into a disastrous mess very quickly. Now, what is the point of this? Well, Black has taken the centre, and now it's White turning the game on its head, trying to destroy Black's centre himself. And of course, what Black mustn't do here is take this pawn, then after knight g5, already Black's game is almost beyond repair. I mean, he's got far too many pawn weaknesses to consider his game at all attractive. So Vallejo, of course, as a 2700 player would be, is well prepared. He comes forward with d4, and now again White plays the main tactical idea of this line. He pushes his pawn to e5. Now you can imagine, if you're not ready for this line, well, you could be in trouble right away. The first point is that Black shouldn't take on c3. After that, White takes on f6, Black takes on b2, and now the nice intermezzo f7 check. That's one of the main points of the line. And when Black takes, as he must, bishop takes b2, and Black's game is quite horrible. His king is displaced, his pawn centre, his once proud pawn centre, is in ruins, and White is already starting to think about a decisive attack. So Vallejo, going back to the game, plays knight to g4, and White brings his knight into g5. That's just one move here, and the point of knight g5 is that it hits the knight on g4, it hits the pawn on e6. Already, Black looks as though he might be coming under some serious fire. Just going back, knight e4 has also been played, and after that, Black should play bishop b7. I don't say that's the only move, but I do say that's the move that gives Black the best chance here. Attacking the knight on e4, and e5 is also under pressure. So knight fg5 is supposed to be the best move. Again, attacking that knight on g4, and after knight d takes e5, White can play f4. And it looks as though Black is losing this position because his knights are in a real tangle defending one another. But Black can not only survive, he can survive and prosper with bishop takes e4. The point being that after knight takes e4, Black has the rejoinder, queen to d5, which is surprisingly difficult to meet. Run this through the engines, you'll find that Black is doing pretty well. If White tries knight f2, which is supposed to be the best, we take it, and we can then play bishop e7. I wonder if it was this surprise that Vallejo had prepared. So that when White takes, we're going to castle with check and go c4 with a very interesting attack. And again, if you run this through the engines, you'll see that this position is pretty good for Black. Well, certainly I wouldn't like to be White here. Perhaps that's a stylistic thing, but I wouldn't fancy defending this position at all. So going back to the game, knight to g5, knight d takes e5, and Malakatko played knight c e4. Well, White can try f4 again, trying to embarrass the Black knights. Now we go bishop e7, and the point of this is that when White takes on e5, we're now going to take on c3. If White trade queens, we can take with the bishop, and then if White takes on c3, we castle and then take on e5 with a satisfactory game. Hence, going back, knight c e4. h6, driving the knight back, and now this centralising move, queen to d5. So here we see another typical position, not really resembling Tarash Alekhine in any way, but one where black has, again, completely destroyed white's centre. There's no white central pawns to speak of. Instead, it's the imposing black centre that poses white serious problems. But by encouraging the black pawns forward, white has hoped to puncture a hole in this centre, and he's going to try and take advantage of this by hopefully getting to the square c4 in short order, hence knight fd2. But to me, it's black's superior development that's going to carry the day here. So bishop b7, placing the bishop aggressively. h3, the knight comes back to f6. White takes on f6, black recaptures. And you see, black's not really worried by a move like queen to h5 check in this position. I mean, if he wants to play it safe, he can drop back to f7 with his knight. Again, with the big centre, that looks perfectly satisfactory for black. So Malakatko played f4. Knight d3 check. I wonder if he was expecting that. Very aggressive, sacrificing a piece to get into that g2 pawn. White plays queen h5 check, and now very calmly king to d7. And suddenly white finds himself under terrible pressure. Black's got the big attack, and one of the points is that if white goes rook f1 in this position, black has queen g3 check. And if king e2, we've got queen e3 check. And it's black's control of the light squares that makes all the difference in this position. I mean, not only that, white's going to be a pawn down when black regains his piece. So Malakatko played king d1, sacking the rook to try and get his king to safety in the hope that he's going to get some sort of counter-attack going. But all in all, I just don't see what the problem is for black now. I think he can consolidate fairly easily. I mean, white's trying to develop and get that counter-attack going, but queen d5, threatening the exchange of queens. Black is material ahead. And anything that white does now is pretty desperate, really. Black comes in with queen to g2. White goes rook e1. King to d8. Queen to f7. Rook to g7. Queen to e6. And now bishop c8 was the last move of the game. So whatever counter-attack white was hoping for has completely failed to materialise. So another one of those games where black completely wiped out white's centre. White tried to get aggressive early in the game, but with accurate countermeasures, black was able to beat white back. So this strategic idea of demolishing the white centre, keep that in mind throughout your opening treatment of the Blumenfeld Gambit.